The following is the last journal entry of the Senior Bishop Zoolath found after his execution for blasphemy. For so long we blindly believed what we had been told. Never before had I questioned my faith. But now I fear that my very foundations have been shaken. I no longer know what to believe. Am I going mad? Is this all some sort of grand and extravagant test? If so, I have failed. When we first encountered the humans, I gave them no more thought than I had with any other newly discovered sentients. Many new sentients are resistant to accepting the truth of the gods until they see them for themselves. Only when they have witnessed their glory and heard the power behind their knowledge. Only when they have experienced the magnificence of their voices do they accept the truth that the gods worshipped by the Grand Intergalactic Church created all of us, and because of this, they demand the most devout of worship and obedience. At the time, I had never bothered to jot this event down, but I shall now. I was one of the bishops sent to establish first contact with the humans. They had been discovered when we found they were beginning to colonize outside of their home system. We boarded one of the humans' own diplomatic vessels where the greatest leaders of their home planet, Earth, were gathered. I was initially astonished by how many leaders were present. It appeared that the humans were an extremely disorganized species that would tear each other apart without our guidance. As I walked aboard the vessel and took in their forms, I noticed their predatory eyes. Eyes arranged on the front of the head were always the sure mark of a predator. Of course, this did not daunt me. My own species, the Timbulok, were predators as well. I was just aware that predatory sentients were almost always more resistant to conversion. But they all converted in the end. I greeted the humans in the customary manner dictated by the church. Before they could ask any of their questions, I explained their situation. The Grand Intergalactic Church required that they meet with the god I served, Thyaxilian. After meeting Thyaxilian, all humans would be required by galactic law to worship Thyaxilian and all other gods of the Grand Intergalactic Church, as well as abandoning all earlier primitive belief systems. Additionally, they would be required to obey the gods without question or doubt. After giving my speech, which I have done before being a senior bishop of the church, the humans laughed. Despite the obvious disunity of the humans, they all found this proposal most humorous. I remained calm and collected as they laughed in my face. They would soon know fear when they met with one of our lords. They would get down on their knees and beg for forgiveness from this event. But for the time, I knew I must be patient. I must be calm. Without any sign of anger or annoyance from their outbursts, I explained that they would have 112 galactic standard days to meet with Thyaxilian. If their own vessels could not reach him in time, then their leaders would be delivered by the church. Failure to comply would have dire consequences for their entire species. This quieted the humans. They began to whisper amongst themselves. I could almost feel the growing fear in the room. Humans understood a threat when they received one. They asked me many questions for which I gave them direct answers. I knew they would meet with Thyaxilian, and when they did, they would become just like every other sentience in the galaxy. They would exist only to serve the gods. In 110 galactic standard days, the humans finally arrived at the grand bastion of Thyaxilian. They had cut it close, but I was mildly impressed that this new species was able to arrive on their own accords. They had arrived in 3 diplomatic ships. I had expected them to come with much more for each of their leaders, but apparently first contact with the larger galaxy had unified them at least slightly. The humans docked on the rocky planet Daxalan, where they would commune with Thyaxilian. I greeted them as they disembarked from their vessels. They greeted me in return, but I could tell they were wary and on guard. I guided them to the grand temple of Thyaxilian where they would hear the voice of my lord. They took in the grand temple with awe and fear. It seems they were not expecting the temple to be a mountain itself. We took a few vehicles and made the climb up the temple. On our climb we passed many priests and fellow bishops who paid the new sentients little mind. After some time we arrived at the very top of the temple. The temple's perfectly flat and expansive top allowed the humans to spread out. But they instead preferred to stay near each other. They obviously did not trust us. So where is this so-called god of yours? All I see is the barren rock that you brought us to. I expected a throne or something up here, but all I see is this mountain and a whole lot of nothing around us, one of the humans said. You have not been brought here for nothing. All will be revealed. Your meeting with Thyaxilian has begun. Look up, I replied. The humans looked up to what they thought was the sun of this world, but were astonished to see it move with many fiery limbs and open its great red flaming eye as it looked down upon them. The humans looked for as long as they could, but had to shield their eyes. I watched them with amusement. Finally, these arrogant fools would know fear. And then, Thyaxilian began to speak. With a great rumble, my lord spoke directly into the minds of all that were atop the temple. Humans, I am Thyaxilian. I am one of many gods in this vast universe. We are the masters of this plane of existence. You may have attempted to worship us before now in primitive ways. But now that you have seen one of us, you will abandon all previous and false beliefs. You will follow our every command. You will forsake all false idols. You will worship us as the true gods of the universe. Failure will result in your annihilation. The humans were stunned. They looked amongst each other in fear, but some of them seemed to hold themselves together better. One of these stronger humans shielded its eyes from Thyaxilian and spoke. If you are truly our god, then what do you know of us? All you look like to me is a big sun with a giant goddamn eye. You are one of many species. Your history is as insignificant as your lives. We do not concern ourselves with your pasts. Only what you do now is important. The same human spoke again. You've given no proof to us that you are a god. All you are is a big-ass talking star. At this point I was taken aback by the arrogant human's words. No sentient that I could remember had ever spoke to Thyaxilian like this before. But it wasn't long before my lord responded. In a flash, the arrogant human was incinerated before all of our eyes. It never even had a chance to scream. I need not give proof of divinity to mere mortals. I am eternal. I am Thyaxilian. We gods are firstborn of the void, and before us, you are all nothing. You need not be extinguished if you obey. With these words, the ground of the very temple shook violently. The other humans looked shocked and appalled. Their fear was gripping them. But a few of them looked different. They looked more angry than afraid. One of the angry ones looked directly into the fires of Thyaxilian and spoke without fear. You are no god of ours. I thought for sure that my lord would destroy this human as well. But Thyaxilian showed mercy and bid them away. I then guided the humans back to their ships and explained what would happen now. The humans would mine resources for the church, assist in construction projects planned by the church, and arrange for every human to worship Thyaxilian and the other true gods. The humans spoke little on the way back. Before embarking on its ship, the angry human that spoke last to Thyaxilian said to me, "This is not over." How reckless I thought this human was. It would risk its entire species because it could not accept the situation. I tried to reason with it. I tried to show it the error of angering the gods, but the human was resistant. At the time, I thought what he said now to be laughably naive, but looking back, I do not know. That thing never claimed to have any part in creating this universe. Its only claim is power. Why should we worship something that neither created nor cares for us? You worship a liar and a fraud. I do not know what that thing is, but it did not create us, and I'll be damned if it ends us. And before this is over, we will teach them all the true meaning of fear. And before I could respond, the human turned to its ship and flew away with the rest of them. With the leaders gone, my job with the humans was done. The lower-ranked priests and missionaries would flood human space to convert humanity to the true religion. Armed with videos of proof of divinity, it would not take long for the humans to follow us like every other species does. Sure, this species would have a time of resistance, but the power of the gods cannot be denied. However, I did not expect what would happen next. I constantly received news that the missionaries were struggling to convert humans. In fact, the missionaries were being hunted down by many human radical groups. I was suspicious that the human leaders were doing nothing to stop these groups as well. Luckily, I needed not concern myself with them. If the humans became too problematic, then the Inquisitor fleets would deal with them. But what happened next, I still have trouble believing. And I saw it for myself. An Inquisitor fleet was being sent to bring the humans to order. Every missionary sent to human space either went missing or returned with stories of humans building a vast and organized military. They needed to be dealt with. So the fleet was sent. But before they got there, a single human ship arrived at the Grand Bastion of Thyaxilian. I myself was stationed aboard a church vessel at the time, basking in my Lord's great glow from a window. I thought it was curious that these humans arrive unannounced in one ship. Surely this could not be an act of war. To take on the fleets of the church at a bastion is suicide. These humans must have defected and decided to join us. But before any of us could hail them a message, I watched in horror as my Lord, Thyaxilion, was crushed by a black hole created just beside it. In my mind I heard my Lord scream in pain and terror as it was crushed to nothingness. The vessel I was on only barely escaped the destructive pull of the black hole. We rushed to the nearest bastion. I needed to know what happened. I write this now knowing that the church will change the story. They will likely say that Thyaxilion is alive and well, and that the Inquisitor fleet sent after the humans is still stationed in the Grand Bastion of Thyaxilion. But the truth is this: the humans created a weapon capable of generating a black hole wherever they want. It destroyed an entire Inquisitor fleet, and it killed my Lord Thyaxilion. I do not know how the humans built this device, but what I do know is that the only thing keeping them from killing our other gods is that they do not know their locations. But it is only a matter of time before they find them. What do I say when the gods cannot help us? But what scares me the most and shakes me to my core is a different question. What do the humans worship? I went on a journey to answer this question. I stole a vessel in search of the human fleets to ask about their religion, what god they truly worship. When I found them, I was only allowed to speak to them because I had established first contact originally. Of course they did not trust me, and likely still don't. But I needed answers. I asked them all about their religion but was shocked to realize that they could not agree on any of it. Some believed in one god, some believed in many, and some believed in no gods. I asked each group for proof of their god, but each group told me a different lesson about faith. One would think that I walked away disappointed, but I was astonished by the concept. What if the humans worship something so great and powerful that it does not need worship or obedience? What if the humans are worshipping the true creator of the void, if such a thing exists? So I departed from the humans to visit the Grand Bastion of Voliandrith. I hoped the humans wouldn't follow me, but I'll admit, I wasn't too careful. After all, my faith had been shaken to its core. I spoke with many of the bishops there, but refrained from telling them I had communicated with the humans again. Only a few of them knew what had happened to Thyaxilion, and none of them were concerned with what the humans might be worshipping. They only knew that they needed to be exterminated. Now the humans have forced the Grand Bastions into hiding. Only properly registered ships are being allowed in and out of these systems. All prior documentation of their locations are being destroyed. But the Grand Bastions were never a secret. The humans will find them all eventually. And I know now that the angry human on Daxilin was right. They did teach the gods the meaning of fear. But I still do not know what to make of the god of the humans. Is it one? Is it many? Is there a god of the humans at all? Perhaps this god gave them their ultimate weapon? But there is one thought that does not exit my mind. If the humans are this powerful, then what in all that is divine do they worship? What commands their worship? What is the god of the humans?